Hello and welcome. It's John Anderson here from the AI Institute, and I'm here with Emily. So, Emily, so great to have you with us today. Emily is an absolute superstar at AI implementation. She's worked with many business over the years, streamlining operations, putting in place new revenue and sales automations, and many other things. She's got a strong background actually in legal automations, with a background as a lawyer, so that's been an area that she's specialized in. But over the years, she's worked with many different businesses on cost cutting, reducing costs, and growing revenue. So, Emily, thank you so much for making time with us today, and it's so great to have you on the team as one of our implementation partners.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Yeah, so let's just dive into it. So this call is really about transformation. So we'd love to hear about some of the projects that you're most proud of, or that have made some solid impacts on businesses. So there are any that spring to mind?
Yeah, absolutely. Quite a few. I think the kind of common denominator I've seen amongst some of the kind of larger transformations that I've helped with has been the first step, which is we always kind of start with process mining. So basically, I mean, typically I would use like a Power Automate process miner or a bit of software for that because, why do something manually if I can automate it? But generally, that can also obviously be done by just someone who knows the business well, and you can kind of look into it, perform a bit of an audit, and you want to really kind of mine through all the different processes that are going on. I think something that's kind of interesting that I find with a lot of business owners is that most managers or most people who are actively involved in the business will be able to see the happy path, right? Like, so they can see how a process should look and how it should operate for a business. But process mining will kind of reveal some of the dark side of the processes that are going on. So the loops, the bottlenecks, and that will help us find some of those kind of maverick workarounds that actually are occurring throughout those processes, and that will then allow us to, in general, automate a task a lot better so that we can actually actively prevent any of those kind of hidden bottlenecks from appearing again, and we can kind of get around it. A lot of the time as well, those maverick workarounds will actually kind of give us a bit of a hint as to how best to automate something. It might be how many times a day we need a workflow to run. It might be who really needs to be in the loop, where the data needs to be stored, anything like that. So we always start with that. And I think no matter what area you target, whether it be admin, marketing, lead generation, outreach, customer support is a huge one. Anything along those lines, I think you can get some massive results. And obviously, if you can go through and get all the areas and really go through the whole wish list, you'll get a lot more out of it.
Yeah, I love that. And business is a system. So let's say your business was getting buckets of water, emptying one bucket, filling another, and then getting it to an end result. If there's a hole in each bucket,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, well, let's fill each hole. And maybe can we just not have buckets? Can we just have a pipeline that goes across?
Yeah.
So once you understand what the current system is, then you can develop a new system. But it's as you said, that first step is actually, okay, what is the current system?
Yeah.
What can be removed? What is unnecessary? What can be automated? And understanding the people running that system, because they're a key part of it.
Absolutely. And I think particularly these days where we're trying to look for as much automation as possible whilst also having that human in the loop element to get a person to maybe approve some of the outreach, personalized emails and things that might go out, or approve some of the copy before it launches onto social media automatically, or anything like that. Particularly when you are generating more creative content and things, you might want to have a human in the loop. We really need to know what the staff members are doing. And sometimes that might be finding out that a highly qualified staff member whose expertise is in a specific area that you probably hired them for is actually losing, up to 4 hours a day, so half their day in general, on admin tasks and kind of grunt work and things like that. That's immediately an area then that we want to be helping automate some of that process for them so they can get back to what they're best at. It's really making the best use of people. I think a lot of people think AI is there to take jobs and things like that, and realistically, AI is there to maximize people's input in their job, really maximize the amount that they're actually able to work within their skill set and use their skill set to its full potential. I think a lot of businesses are missing out on some of the jobs that they've explicitly hired for because those people are caught up, sending kind of base emails back and forth or scheduling manually, which, oh my goodness, that is a task and a half. or the most common one I see is where people are losing a couple of hours every day to searching a knowledge base. And in this case, or in a more manual case, it might be scrolling through emails, scrolling through files, scrolling through an intranet, whatever it might be, to try and find that one bit of information they're looking for a specific client. Whereas if we set it up properly and things are automated and SOPs and all of your data is automatically being pulled into a specific knowledge base point, we can then integrate that so that you have a chatbot where they can say, hey, I'm looking for this. Oh, here it is. Great. Let's save some time across that. I'd rather something take someone 2 seconds, particularly when it's a very manual kind of unnecessary task, I suppose, that could easily be.
Yeah, it's a great point. Let's assume everyone has a particular genius area, or at least everyone on your team has a particular genius area, and let's assume that a lot of tasks have a dollar value. How can you get your highest, most core team doing $100 or $1,000 an hour value tasks instead of $10 an hour tasks? And put your hands up if you've spent time rummaging through Slack or Teams for a file, you can't remember what you named it, or emails, and then you start looking on your Google Drive, and then you're looking on your desktop, and even if it is on your desktop, well then how does anyone else have access to it in Google Drive? So having a second brain in your business that everyone in the business is using and everyone can search, I think is essential nowadays, but really only like maybe 1 in 10 business have a good working one, and that's generous. So that's something really important that we do for clients. Well, I just love your philosophy. Let's dive into a case study of business transformation.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a few in mind. I think one of the kind of biggest, almost an example of using this knowledge-based idea that I've implemented that has made some real differences to a company was a tech company, and the kind of goal was to find a way to sort out their support process. So basically you've got your kind of customer support team, they'll have clients reaching out to them all day, every day via the phones, emails, and portal in this case. So we had 3 different kind of routes for messages to be coming through to these support agents. And then you also had other staff members in the business who would get a phone call or an email and have to pass it on to support as well. So we also had the internal process of passing on clients' support dramas. And you can't just, be telling a client, wrong person, reach out to so-and-so, especially when you're kind of sitting right next to them. So there was just too many kind of routes initially for these support cases and requests for technical support from clients to be coming in. Obviously at a tech company, when I say requests for technical support, there's hundreds a day, especially in a global company and multiple products. So it's a big deal, and you're trying to support multiple products, which means you've got multiple kind of different sets of instructions, databases, user guides, resources to send out to these clients. It's impossible really for one person to be across all of those. So of course there is a large support team across it, and the really unfortunate thing was half of this team were experts in like implementation and SaaS building and development. So it would have been great if these people were actually able to be developing the product instead of trying to provide constant technical support in such a kind of haphazard way. So what we kind of did was I built an agent and a bit of a workflow that allowed for a lovely little AI support bot who can, reply to multiple people at once instead of having to kind of do it sequentially. Was able to get through the list a lot quicker. So the average support response time went from nearly 48 hours down to, I think it was 1 hour, at least for initial response. So quite quick. And the resolution time actually also went down. So a lot of people would think an AI support bot isn't going to be able to resolve the issue as quickly. It was actually able to resolve it as quickly, if not faster in most cases. And the reason for that is most issues are repeated. So most of the time, a technical support team is probably getting about maybe up to 50 of the same issue per day. And it might just be that there's a particular bug that day, or it might be that everyone's asking for a password reset. Anything along those lines.
Many such cases.
Exactly. And these support bots are obviously able to then repeat their process, I suppose, a lot quicker than anyone else on a support team would be able to, just because of manual work versus automated work. And the support bots as well were able to have the brand voice and the kind of more human-sounding voice input. Everyone knew this was a support bot regardless, but it's important to have that brand voice there so you have that consistency, and you want to make sure that the contact almost sounds human so that people feel comfortable kind of going back and forth with that support bot. That makes a huge difference. They're not requesting a human to jump into the process as quite as often then. So we used, in that case, we actually normally use Claude to facilitate the styling and the brand voice because it's obviously excellent for that with its style feature and being able to replicate styles. It's got a great ability for that. So I built that one into the workflow just to get the style point. That was excellent. Yeah, huge
I love
difference.
that. And, often, well, sometimes people may think, oh, well, it's AI. How could you possibly trust that? It will hallucinate. However, the truth is, with LLMs how they are today,
Yeah,
trained on a tight data set, not trained on the whole internet, just only trained on your data set with the right prompting controls, it can be easily as accurate as a human, if not more so. And besides, this is front level response. If it didn't solve the issue, then they go to the next, they can go to a human if needed. So,
absolutely.
what an incredible time saver. And may I say, what a great thing for the brand. I mean, no one wants to wait 48 hours for a tech response, right?
No, especially you're paying for a software or probably monthly
Mm,
on a subscription
mm,
basis. You don't want to be losing two
cancel in
days
that
as a
time.
business
Yeah.
too. B2B, like you don't want to lose 2 days.
Yeah, no, it's just that's a lifetime. Let's face it. So what a breakthrough! And do you have any idea? And also, these guys, the customer service team sounds like they're high level devs, and it's just wasting their time. So they could be doing
Right.
200 an hour or whatever it is, client work, and instead they're doing stuff that can essentially done by a virtually free.
Yeah.
That's a
It
no
was a
fees
virtually
to the
free start.
token or whatever. So what an amazing savings and value creation. Um, I'm not sure if this was able to be quantified, but do you have roughly an idea of how many hours it might have saved of those high level team
Yeah.
members' time?
So we were able to log it actually because we, again, process mining, amazing for this. If you keep your process mining running, it can track the change in process and let you know basically how much time has been saved. So we worked it on a per person basis, and from memory, the support team was 20 something people, 22, 23 people, give or take. But on average, it was worked out to be saving them 2 to 3 hours per day. So it was initially 2 hours after the transition and then 3 hours a bit later. Obviously,
Mm.
they were previously already doing some dev work in their day, but at least we suspect at least it was, I think, in fact, the process mining, I think, showed they were spending 4 to 5 hours on these first level support
Mm.
cases, and they were able to then only have to spend 2 or 3 at an escalation point.
Yeah, right. So we're talking, I'm just doing in my head, but maybe
Yeah,
30 to 40 hours of saving a week
per person.
overall per person.
Yeah, that was a per person on the team basis.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
So huge amount
So
of
walk me through
hours.
the math of the savings. So per person, it was they went
Per
down.
person was two to
Um,
three hours per day, and the support team was, I think it was 22, 23 people.
okay, so we're talking like 90 hours a week, and that's the
40
before.
something a day, I think, 5 days a week. So, yeah, a lot.
Okay, so 200 hours the day
Yeah,
before.
yeah. So it was a
Yeah, and what
huge.
did it go down to after it?
So originally they were doing on average 4 to 5 per day each hours on these first level support cases, and by the end they were doing 2 to 3.
Amazing, amazing. So, yeah, just an incredible saving. And they wouldn't have known themselves in terms of energy, like rather than dealing with the same repetitive questions, they're
Yeah.
just absolutely able to blitz forward.
Oh yeah, and when you've got a big, like sometimes, I mean, let's face it, sometimes in tech there's a bug, right? So some days there would be an issue with a certain software was having an update, so it would kind of like go down for a bit of a period of development, maybe for an hour or two. In that time, you're probably going to have an absolute influx of clients messaging support. They will have got an email letting them know it was about to happen, but you'll still get the emails from various clients asking questions and things. And I
Mm,
think it was a big time saver there because we could basically let the bot know, hey, we're doing an update. The best thing about that is we don't have to actually message it directly. It's tracking our emails and things. When I say tracking, it's automatically pulling in all this data from across the company. So it knew that there was going to be an update at this time, which means when it starts getting emails saying, hey, what's going on, it can say, we're doing an update. Here's what's going on. And it was able to kind of improve those comms as well over time so that it was more able to better handle like client anxiety. which is hugely important. I think there's a kind of real personal element to support and to outreach of any descript or any kind of communications. But because we could build in the brand style and the brand voice really well, we were also able to build in, I suppose, a simulated empathy, I'll call it. So the bot, despite maybe not feeling that empathy, was definitely able to express it and kind of communicate things well with the clients and mitigate any additional anxieties or concerns.
Just amazing, just amazing. It sounds like around maybe roughly 100 hours a week saved, which is just incredible. When you think about these people's pay rate and their skill level, I mean, we're talking about, you know, a lot of money saved for the business. It's the equivalent of two staff members with their time just completely freed up.
And they were able to get an extra release every year for their software in as well, which means that there's more development work happening to the extent that we had a whole nother release of updates and upgrades for their software every year, which obviously A, keeps their clients very happy, but B, means that their clients or their client base is actually much more likely to purchase, because now they know that if you purchase this, there's going to be feature upgrades 5 times a year, which means we're now addressing customer feedback at this rate instead of the prior rate. I think the difference in that was 20% more customer feedback being addressed per year in regards to new feature releases and functionality.
Just incredible, yeah. And it just goes back to your point. It's about allowing people to be in their genius area and not doing that grunt and monotonous work. I know you've got a really fun case study about working with a pawn broking store, which is great. I know that this is a fascinating area to everyone because there's reality TV shows about this niche. So amazing story. So tell me what happened, what was the before state, what problems were there, and what were you brought in to solve?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first problem, which, I mean, I always go for this one first, it was probably about the third or fourth problem we addressed, but it's the most interesting in my opinion. The biggest problem that I noticed, especially when I went there in person, proximity has so much power sometimes, you can walk in and really see a problem, and in this case you could. They had an absolute oversupply of stock. And I mean, there was stock everywhere. Like if I went out the back to go to someone's office, I was kind of bumping into things and knocking things off shelves. So it was pretty easy for me to say, hey, what's going on with the amount of stock that we've got, not even at the front of the shop. So back in the office, it's not able to be displayed, therefore not able to be sold. And the main issue that was pointed out was sometimes they're buying stock in that is not actually going to sell. Being a pawnbroker, there's such a variety there. You know, it could be anything from an iPhone to I saw a carnival ride on display in there once. True story. That was very interesting. It was just one of the big carnival ride carts, like a little roller coaster cart, really bizarre. They had jewelry in there. They had, there was a life-size Terminator mannequin, all sorts of things. Really interesting. Gotta love pawnbrokers. But basically, they were buying in all of this extra stuff, cameras, things, and not all of it sells very well to their consumer market. And they had quite a few stores around Sydney. And sometimes some stock would sell well at one store and not other stores. And whilst they were operating initially just on straight intuition, and some of them were incredible for that intuition, the bottom line is AI is going to be able to process large data sets a lot faster than any human brain can. So we may as well use it for its genius, I suppose. And in this case, the best thing we were able to set up was tracking any kind of stock that came in, any stock that went out, how long on average it was on the shelf, what side of the shop was it being displayed, what time of day was it on average being sold. So we were able to rotate stock, not just from different parts of the store and between different stores as well, but also different times of day. So you would have a tray of, let's say, Rolex watches on one side of the store for the morning. You would swap that tray out with a tray of rings in the afternoon because engagement rings typically sold better in the afternoon. Whether that be that the future fiance was at work and so people were more likely to come in around that time, I don't know. But that was kind of the theory, I suppose, that we had. But regardless, the AI was able to tell us what was going to sell when, so they could change what they were buying in and what they were rotating, how they were rotating it, and what stores sold what stock.
So that must have been a hell of a project to, I mean, we're talking about maybe thousands of product SKUs to upload into some sort of AI-driven database.
It was very busy, for sure. I got lucky in the way that they had set up initially with Linux and with custom software. So they used entirely custom software, which was a really cool setup to not be kind of taking any of the out-of-the-box subscription-based software and have entirely custom software built by programmers. Really interesting to work with. Difficult for me because I had to learn it, but really interesting. But we were able to run exports then a lot easier on what they did have logged, and anything that they didn't, we were able to kind of go around and do a little bit of a manual process to get it organized. It's worth doing at the beginning because if we add AI to chaos, we're just going to automate the chaos. I much prefer to get everything kind of organized and systemized and then start automating it because we're going to get a much better result. But in this case, they had what we kind of called the final stock take, which their stock takes were taking them from closing time at 6 p.m. to midnight or even early hours of the morning. And they were doing that once a month, which would have just been, I can't even imagine how time consuming for the team and how tiring as well for the managers who are, there and then back at work again early in the morning. It's crazy. So the big one final stock take was kind of one more physical stock take where they were going around and actually physically marking things off a checklist. But in this case, we were also photographing, adding it into the system. I did set up a thing so we could basically do a big video around and then bring all that stock into the system to save us actually going through one by one.
And the AI could read that at even, what year was this in?
So this one was only a couple of years ago now, so it was definitely harder to build at the
just
time.
nowadays AI would eat that up, but back then you would have been stretching it a bit. But still, it was okay.
Trying to build the RAG system for that one was not easy, and trying to identify everything in there accurately. We definitely were at the point at one stage where we managed to log a certain number of cameras, and the brand was able to be grabbed, but not the model. So I had to kind of go around and do individual checking to make sure the models were all right. These days, you could probably grab the model as well, without any kind of additional manual work or any trouble. But after that one final stock take, we were able to bring it all into the system. And nowadays, when they're trying to run a stock take, it's really just a case of a quick kind of scan around, and again,
amazing.
And it's able to identify if you've missed anything, basically.
And what were the biggest insights? Because this is basically, just to recap, you've created a system to get all of the products uploaded, and then let's say there's 5,000, then you can then use different, algorithms to work out whatever you want to work out, basically. So what were the biggest things you were trying to work out, and what insights did you get?
Yeah, so the bottom line is whenever we're looking at what processes we want to implement and how, there's three things AI needs to do or can do, which is you want to increase revenue, you want to reduce kind of lost time, and you want to save money as well. So you want to reduce your costs and your expenditure. Now, those three things can all happen in concert with one automation sometimes, and that's great. Most of the time, you're probably targeting two of the three. That's excellent. So across the board, the first thing we wanted to do for them was increase revenue. Reason being, then they can fund additional kind of AI exploits and additional automations they want to implement. So it was almost a self-funding kind of situation that way. So the first thing we did was that stock rotation that I mentioned at the beginning, and that reduced the amount of space that was being occupied by all this stock. It also increased the frequency at which they were able to sell things. It increased the price they could sell things for, because we
So
were
did
able
you
to
use
adjust
AI
prices.
to work out what products that are sitting in the back room getting dust that you could be putting out that would move quickly, and maybe
And if we
replacing
sent it
out
to a
ones
different
that...
store, would it sell better? So, for example, if something was selling in the city versus Penrith, those two stores were able to basically swap stock. Because in that situation, we had a lot of things that were sitting out the back in Penrith that were not going to sell there based on the data. And then vice versa in the city, so we could swap things out.
So you could take the stolen goods from Penrith and then sell them
Exactly.
allegedly.
Allegedly.
I couldn't help it. That was my last pawnbroker joke. But no, that's amazing. So it's basically, you've got a whole bunch of stock sitting in the back. Where's it going to sell best? Maybe there's stock sitting in pride of place
Yeah.
that should be in the back.
Yeah.
When you think about like what a cost for the business owner in terms of free cash flow, just having all this effectively money, right, sitting just in the storeroom. And the thing is, you're taking on new stock every day, so it's not like that's ever getting fixed, really. It's just
adding to the problem a lot of the time. And after we got all this stock in a database, which was the most time consuming part, I will fully admit. But once we got that initial process done, we were able to not only optimize the rate at which stock was selling and the type of stock we were buying in. They started obviously saying no to certain items because it wasn't going to sell at any of their stores, or at least not easily. It was going to sit there
Yeah,
for
just
too much
didn't know that
time.
because it might look like a great product, but
That's it.
they just didn't have the
iPhones,
data.
ironically, were not selling well at all. I don't know why that is, but people are not buying iPhones typically from a pawnbroker. So buying those in was not resulting in sales, and if it did, it was going to sit there for too long, basically. And by that point, you have to perform maintenance and update things, and you have to make sure you're wiping the phone to get rid of any kind of old data or prior owner's information of it. You have to change the battery in it if the battery starts to go. Anything like that that kind of causes a depreciation in the asset. That was obviously very time consuming, and it was also very costly. So again, we want to limit costs and we want to limit lost time, and then we want to increase revenue. So that was one of those situations where we were able to do all three. And with that kind of saved money and increased revenue, we were able to also add in a due diligence system that helped to basically prevent them buying any kind of stolen goods. No one needs to play around with Nemo Dat and the Nemo Dat exceptions. For anyone who's in law, that's a bit of fun. But to avoid having to do that, and to avoid just the, again, lost time and lost money to dealing with the police and investigations and things, being able to ensure that your due diligence is not only completed in a satisfactory manner and to the fullest of the abilities of the software and the company, but is also then able to be logged so that you can very easily pull up the item and show the log, and no one can accuse you of not having done your due diligence. So that was one of those situations where initially the implementation seems like we're spending money on something that only happens once in a blue moon. But when it does happen, you're saving quite a lot of money and quite a lot of time. So it added up and was definitely worth implementing in that way.
Just incredible. And obviously, it's a lot of work for you and the team to get this implemented. Was it hard to get buy-in from the team to do that initial grunt work, or did they kind of see the vision and how much better it would be for them?
I think they definitely saw the vision. The other benefit I had was they were already doing so much of this manual
Yeah.
stock takes and things, so it wasn't a huge inconvenience to them. I think I was probably more inconvenienced by joining the party.
Yeah.
But it was, they were definitely happy to do it. I was
So
lucky.
they're like, we've got to do this, but once we've done it this
Yeah.
time, there's a brighter future
It's that
ahead.
initial teething. It's not a pleasant moment, not a pleasant kind of couple of months, I suppose, of that initial setup. I think that's kind of frustrating for a lot of people. You have this exciting wish list of implementation, and then there's 2 months of kind of tough extra grunt work on the way there. So the setup time's difficult, but absolutely they fortunately saw the kind of end result. And I think anyone who can just keep that big picture in mind, you get through that initial setup time, and it is just so very worth it.
Amazing, amazing. And I guess the end result is not having all the stuff sitting in the back room, which is just dead cash flow, and then also profit per square meter by knowing what to have in the best possible locations.
Yeah, especially if you've got a city office. I mean, the city of Sydney is not known for cheap rent. So, so you want to really optimize the amount of space you've got there, not just on the floor, but in the back as well. And that way you're able to take in more products. You're not having to say no to things that would sell just because you don't have the space to store it. So that was a big one. And I think there's also staff time involved there with having to obviously log and maintain all those products. Yeah, it's huge amount of kind of optimizations that will benefit multiple areas. I mean, a good example of that, I think, is, again, because we had everything logged and everything's in a database now and we can track it a lot better. One of the great things we were able to do with that is improve their overall kind of marketing and sales by using a e-com site that they had already set up, basically their website in combination with eBay and a few other e-com stores and things. And we were able to automate the creation of like product logs and listings, listings to sell the products online.
Because you have everything in the database, so you were able to then list them on all these.
Yeah, that we were able to make
Amazing.
social media posts automatically that went straight to the Facebook at the points of highest traffic to target things better in an organic manner, almost organic. And we're able to obviously bring in those product photos easier, fill out the specs of each product, and everything was able to be completely automated. So from social media to eBay to their website, we were able to overly improve the actual log of what stock they've got, what's for sale, what price, all that kind of jazz. And so you're going to get, again, more sales. I think that was an increase by about 40% in sales. The benefit to online selling is obviously we could target overseas as well.
Wow. So just by, well, not just by, because it's a big thing, but by adding the e-commerce channels, roughly a 40% increase.
Yeah, and no extra time because we're automating the process. So, well, when I say no extra time, probably about an hour a day of extra time from a hire who was previously doing other work, and thanks to the automations we'd otherwise, previously built, was able to be pulled
Yeah.
into the e-com side, and they spent about an hour a day just making sure that the system was, bringing everything in properly. Not hallucinating, not doing anything crazy. I mean, this was 2 years ago, so hallucinations were a bit more of a fear then. So they were able to kind of double check everything. But other than that, yeah, the 40% uptake in purchases.
Just incredible. And, there were multiple stores, so apply that across many stores. I mean, we're talking about hundreds of thousands, if not millions of extra revenue, which is just incredible. So, and then also the higher profit per square meter within the store, just by knowing which products to have at the front, which products to have in the back, and etc. So just incredible. All right, well, let's finish off. Is there any other inspiring stories? I'm already inspired, but any other inspiring stories you want to end on?
Trying to think now. Goodness, got me on the spot. I think the kind of the main thing I wanted to highlight was just that it doesn't really matter what area you initially think you want to focus on. Firstly, your wish list will build out regardless, and process mining will definitely help identify maybe things you hadn't spotted yet. But from synthesizing your meeting notes and turning that into actually actioned tasks with agents, to predictive maintenance, to predictive stock ordering, to monitor when your stock's running low and automatically place a new order for you, zero-touch onboarding, self-service returns, internal knowledge base, trying to think of anything, automated expense audits, compliance, due diligence, obviously, inventory management, agentic content creation, marketing, whatever it is. There is an AI for that. In fact, there is literally a website called There's an AI for that. So it's got 45,000 tools, I think. So if you're ever wondering what's out there, that's a great place to start. And it will definitely help fill out that wish list more. But I always recommend custom workflows and things because every company is different and unique, and you want to make sure that it's going to fit in perfectly with your company and your current tech.
That's
So
right. And the more you can get the team involved that will be using it so they can give feedback, the more they are
user
happy
adoption.
about it. I absolutely, I absolutely love that. Now, there was one thing I was
Yeah.
going to say. Anyway, it slipped my mind.
All right. Thumbs up. I'm always here.
Yeah, well, look, thank you so much, Emily. Appreciate you so much. Thank you for all the work you do for the AI Institute members, and yeah, onwards and upwards.
Cool. Sounds good. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.